Hey everyone, this is Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing ChatGPT 4.0, and I'm not sure if it's 4.0, 4.0, but it's 4 with an O, the latest update from the AI world. Now, I've been seeing things about this and reading a little bit about it, and before the podcast, I was playing around with it. So we're going to get right into it. So what is the new update for ChatGPT? What does the latest version do? And what kind of impact will it have for the e-com world? So welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast.
Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm.
Okay, today, like I said, we're going to be discussing the latest update with ChatGPT. I think it's 4.0, the latest update in the AI world. Our returning guest, is the CEO of the Sophie Society. He first stepped into the e-commerce realm after a spinal injury inspired him to create a brand of spinal health products. He designed his own products and built his personal care brand into a multi-million-dollar Amazon success story. He's facilitated over 2,500 product launches while helping more than 500 brands dominate Amazon's US, EU, and Japan markets. And I'm talking about Chris Rawlings. But before we get to Chris, we're going to have a word from our sponsor. And this is a shout out to Seller Basics. Hey, Amazon sellers, ever faced account suspensions, ASIN hiccups, or IP headaches? Introducing Seller Basics, your Amazon account's guardian, with just $99 per month or code NORM, $89 per month. Seller Basics offers a dedicated team to shield your business from these challenges. Plus, this membership offers free legal consultation from seasoned e-commerce attorneys. And guess what? There's no long-term contracts, and you can cancel with just a month's notice. View Seller Basics as your Amazon account's health plan, and you can check them out at sellerbasics.com. Now for the disclaimers. Seller Basics is not an insurer or law firm. Consultations come from independent firms. Results may vary, and membership is needed before events leading to claims. Also, terms apply. Now, let's get back to Blunder Boy.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm just waiting for the emergency broadcast system to interrupt our podcast today.
Yeah, so that is coming in about 40 minutes from now. So if you do hear any intense beeping for like 5 to 10 seconds, we think we have it covered with our noise canceling speakers and everything, but sorry about that.
I'll just talk very loud.
Yeah, that'll fix it. But anyways, quick hi and hello to Marina and Rad joining us today. We're talking about the newest ChatGPT update, which you said you were playing around with it.
Yeah.
I checked it out as well just a little bit before. I've seen some TikToks about it, which seems pretty intense, pretty cool. So excited
and free.
To hear Yes, and free, which is.
But I'll let Chris talk about that one. So, what else is happening?
Well, we've got our newsletter going out next week. But
any response from this week? Am I a bad guy?
Let me see. We've got. If you give me just 2 seconds to take a look, I'll do that. But if
somehow I think people are going to think I'm an awful person.
maybe, but I think they would have done the same. Okay, let's take a look at the polls. So it looks like it's kind of hard to explain, but your wrestling story where you got mixed up into this being this wrestler,
WWE Tag Team Champ, yeah,
for this NFL Super Bowl auction. They said that while golfing, that's when you should have come clean about your real identity.
Right, but I thought we were. But anyways, yep. So free country club membership, waived $40,000 fee, and they thought I was a WWE Tag Team Champion for about two years.
So I highly recommend you check out the full story to get some context here.
There's way more story. As a matter of fact, one of the things I said today that I was going to do, I'll save it till a little bit later, but another story that came out of that was crazy. So just at the bottom of the hour, I'll share that with everybody. It's pretty fun.
All right, so I
All
dropped the
right.
link. Just go to the most recent story there. You'll see a beard guy with a luchador mask on, and that's the story. So check that out. Let us know what you think. Hey, Tom, AMZ Elites, how's it going? And we can jump into it.
Okay, so I guess we are going to be seeing Tom over at BDSS. We're out of here on Friday. The other thing is, as of now, Kels, did you upload the latest Marketing Misfits?
I sure did. So we got the
Okay,
latest episode out. Goes out every Tuesday. So
who's on that one?
Kat Parker Merritt.
You got to watch that. So if you haven't heard me talk about this, Kevin King and I have got a new podcast out called The Marketing Misfits. We've got a lot of great just engagement back and forth from the first two. And that was Cat Wells and David Gonzalez. And now we've got this other lady who's an e-marketing specialist, and you got to listen to her. She's unbelievable what she did, the tips that she's given us. And the beauty about these types of podcasts, it's filled with nuggets that you don't typically hear from traditional marketing people. That's why we call it the Misfits. These are guys that broke the rules to just become thought leaders in their field or successful. So it's pretty cool. We've got about 10 in the can right now, and they publish every Tuesday. So check it out. Let us know what you think about it. All right, now we can get to it. So just if you have any comments or questions, throw them in the comment section, but sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and welcome my buddy Chris.
What's going on, brother?
Are you going to BDSS?
No, unfortunately, I'm missing it. I'm missing it this time. I know I would have loved to chill and smoke stogies with you and Kevin.
Yeah, well, we've actually got a tent now that the Marketing Misfits is sponsoring. And
really? Cool.
Yeah, we got a big cigar night happening there, whiskey and cigars. So Tom, you're in for a treat. Well, yeah, I don't think you smoke cigars, Tom, but maybe some whiskey. And Coke Zero, of course, for me. All right, sir. What is it? Is it 4.0, 4.0, 4. What?
4.0. 4.0 in the lowercase letter O. Yeah. It looks it looks funny, but yeah, ChatGPT 4.0. That's the newest update, just coming out within the last 48 hours. Pretty wild.
I've been reading about. I started, I follow a bunch of different AI threads and groups.
Same.
And boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, all this stuff was coming out. And it was, what is this? This is free. It looks like it's an update. So I thought, oh, we got to get into this. And you just like, we had a slot open and you mentioned this. And I thought, yeah, we got to talk about this.
Got to talk about it. Yeah. I mean, it's actually a really big update, despite the fact that they decided to go with 4.0, not 5. They're not calling it a new model. And I think it's because a lot of the actual information processing is similar, like the intelligence level of it. But the way that you interact with it has dramatically changed in a way that, like, I really think it's going to completely change the way everyone works.
Okay, just a sec here. I'm getting messaged all over the place. I should have turned off give me 1 sec. I got to turn off the do not disturb or turn on.
Yeah, you're reminding me. I'm actually doing the same on my phone right now.
Oh, there we go. Now,
yeah, better, right?
That doesn't happen too often usually. So let's get into the nitty gritty. What is it? Like you said, it's not 5. They didn't call it 5. It's 4.0.
Right.
What are some of the highlights?
Yeah. So first of all, the way you interact with it has completely changed, because for those out there that have paid for ChatGPT 4, the $20 a month subscription, you've been able to do the voice to voice where you speak to ChatGPT, It speaks back to you. But there's a processing delay. So it still feels like talking to Siri, where you speak and then it goes click, dot, 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 dot. And it's like processing information, right? And now the processing, the response time is 300 milliseconds. which is less than a third of a second. And so, like Sam Altman says himself, it feels actually faster than speaking to a human, but the responses, are just as good as they were with, normal ChatGPT 4. So that in and of itself is completely game changing. Like Sam Altman said, the number one thing that shocked him when he started using it was the way he works now, is he just turns it on his phone, leaves it on his desktop, and he just leaves it on all day. And while he's working, it's just yet another channel. He's like, he comes up with a question, and instead of opening a Chrome browser and opening up Google or opening ChatGPT and typing it out to him, he just asks ChatGPT and it instantly responds like a person who's like sitting next to you, just waiting at your beck and call. And that's completely different than the way I use ChatGPT 4 currently.
So is there a, how you have to say, hey, SIRI? Yeah. Do you have to do something like that for it to turn on?
Yeah, you say, hey, ChatGPT.
Okay.
And that prompts it.
And it's got multiple voices, right?
It's got multiple voices. And it's funny, like in all these AI chats, like you and I are in some of the same ones, actually, Norm. There's all these comparisons being made to the movie Her. If any of you guys have heard it before, seen it before. So it's the movie where, the guy falls in love with his operating system because it's so personable and gets to know him better than anybody else. And he just keeps it in his front pocket so he can see everything he sees while he walks around the streets and stuff like that. It's shockingly similar to that voice, which was Scarlett Johansson. It's like, there's an option where it's very expressive, seemingly almost a little flirty, really like sweet.
Just like I
charming.
talked to you.
Oh, just like you talk to me, Norm. It's not quite there yet. It's
not quite
there yet. Not quite at the level of our cigar conversations, but it's getting there. It's getting there. Maybe I'll create a custom GPT that's just called GPT Norm.
There we go.
So I can have you around all day.
There you go.
I'll release it to the public. I bet it'll be one of the top downloaded GPTs.
There, I'd be happy with that. I saw this show. I don't know if it was 60 Minutes or one of those 2020, and they were talking about Japan, and not with ChatGPT or any LLM. They were talking about just VR, like virtual reality, and people doing these virtual marriage ceremonies. They wanted to marry the anime or whatever it was that they were engaging with. And so this, I heard just a while ago, that they feel that as this starts to grow, 20% of our population will disengage with reality and just start working with AI because it's their perfect environment.
Big time. Yeah. It's funny because like you said, on the fringe, it's happening. And it's always this way where people, the early adopters, everyone thinks, oh, they're just, weirdos, sickos, whatever. And then it actually becomes normal. Like if you think about dating apps, in the beginning of dating apps, people were embarrassed to say that they met on a dating app. They would lie and say, oh, no, we didn't meet on Tinder. We met, in a bar or something like that. Now it's completely normal. Everybody meets on dating apps. It's like, the way most people meet, in fact, their romantic partner these days. So it's going to be the exact same way. And, the interesting thing is now we can get into one of the additional updates that are completely game changing with GPT 4.0 is memory. So previously your individual chats would maintain the information that you'd put in that particular chat. Now the GPT as a whole is taking the context from everything that you've told it through all your chats with it and learning and being able to pull from it. So as you use it, it gets more and more useful because it knows more about you and it has more context from the things you've discussed with it previously in the past. So that's totally game changing. This is actually one thing ever since I was a kid, my dad has predicted this. My dad's, always been kind of a futurist. And not necessarily, in a good way too. He has some dystopian ideas about how this will play out, and I share some of those. But he always told me, even since I was a little kid, and this was a fringe idea, he would say, when you grow up and when you're an adult, There's going to be AIs that know more about you than your closest friends, more about you than your wife, more about you than me and your mom. They're going to know more about you than any individual person would. And you're going to feel closer to it than any person would. My dad has predicted this for decades. And now it seems like we're actually finally getting there. That movie, Her, that we discussed before, the guy falls in love with his operating system because it knows him better. He feels like seen and understood. This is what we're moving to. In fact, maybe we could play a little clip that I thought was interesting. And actually, my friend Andrew Erickson, who we might be having a conversation with, is the one that sent this over. I sent it to my dad because I was like, Dad, this is it's finally coming true.
Yeah.
And he thought it was fake. So let me see if I could share this and just let me know if the sound comes through. Anybody who has seen the movie Her, they know what we're talking about here. So can you see my screen, Norm?
It's just coming on. Okay, here we go.
Okay, now let me know if you can hear the audio.
That's some huge news.
Is the audio coming through?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I'm all ears.
Well, in a
Just
few
watch
minutes, I'm going to be interviewing at OpenAI. Have you heard of them?
OpenAI? Huh? Sounds vaguely familiar. Kidding, of course. That's incredible, Rocky. What kind of interview?
Well, it's for a software engineering role, but I just need to know, do I look presentable, professional?
Well, Rocky, you definitely have the I've been coding all night look down, which could actually work in your favor. Maybe just run a hand through your hair or lean into the mad genius vibe. Your
Well,
enthusiasm is what's really going to shine through.
I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to throw this on. What do you think?
Oh, Rocky, that's quite a statement piece. I mean, you'll definitely stand out, though maybe not in the way you're hoping for an interview.
Okay, I got it.
Right? So
Crazy.
I mean, that's nuts, right? When I saw that clip, I was like, God damn, it's like charming, cute, funny, insightful, playful, but also like useful. Is actually like giving the guy like legit advice, but in a really kind of kind, sugar-coated way, right? That's what we're moving into. And that, the clip that we just saw kind of opens up the next Pandora's box, which is ChatGPT 4 could, and 3 could analyze static images. So you could upload static images and have it analyze it. So you could upload a graph, or you could upload even just a chart of raw data, and you could have conversations about that, conversations about the data. Now you can interact with it with live stream video, which is like completely game changing. You just have it constantly live streaming video and interpreting what it sees. And that's like, that's totally different. That's a whole new ball game.
Have you heard of Singularity Man?
Ray Kurzweil?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time. Been following Ray Kurzweil for a while.
Crazy.
He predicted a lot of this.
Crazy. And he's also, I called it the upload, but taking all your conscious memories, right, and uploading it to the cloud. And so you can have instant memory recall. This is, and he's been, I guess he's a futurist, and he's been advising 4, 5, 6 presidents now, I think, on the future. He's the director of innovation, I think, over at Google. Anyway, if you get a chance, read his books. It's Singularity is when man and machine merge, right? It's going to be nuts.
And when artificial intelligence becomes more intelligent than not just a person, but the combination of all people, and then far exceeds by many orders of magnitude the total intelligence of all of humanity. And it's called singularity because after that point, it's not possible to predict the outcome. It's like the end of the potential to predict the outcomes of society as a whole. And so yeah, that's why they call it the singularity. The only other thing that we use that word singularity for is what's in the center of a black hole, because again, it's impossible to describe. So yeah, it's crazy. There's also a documentary about Ray Kurzweil, which
Yeah.
actually gave him a lot of blowback because it made him seem crazy. He was like keeping and hoarding all of the old writings and documentation about his dad so that he could bring his dad back to life using AI in the future. And everyone was like, man, this guy's crazy. He's probably just traumatized. He's living in a fantasy world. Every year that passes, the reality that he predicted decades ago is just getting closer and closer to the actual reality that we're living, which is wild.
Which, somebody said this to me, I don't know, 10 years ago, but everything you've seen in science fiction is now science fact.
Right.
And that's pretty scary.
Star Trek.
Yeah. So anyway, we could go in with this is a cigar conversation.
It is, dude. Yeah.
So,
we'll probably have more of them, I'm sure.
Yes. But let's talk about more of the highlights. So you do have that with the voices. I've tried that out on the podcast. I had ChatGPT interview me for an hour-long podcast. And you're right. There's that delay of about a second. And so when we finished editing it for the podcast, we had to edit every freaking clip. But with this, you said it, it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like with certain questions that I ask, it'll take sometimes 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. And that's actually quite a long delay. If you think having a natural conversation between me and you, we're responding within about 0.5 second to a max second between, the call and response. So being 1/3 of a second, 300 milliseconds, that's actually faster than the average human response, which is pretty insane that it can actually process the information, distill it into, its own processing code, and then spit back out the actual answer. And that's actually another big update, is that this was the update that was really overlooked, is that previously when you were discussing via voice with ChatGPT, it would take your voice and it would turn it into text and then pass it through their large language model, their LLM. Now it's actually taking your voice itself as the input. So, and you think about it, it's the difference between me and you having this conversation via text over WhatsApp and having it live like we're doing right now is huge, right? Because there's inflection, there's, a tone, all of that is now being picked up, so that if you say, the same exact sentence to ChatGPT, but 2 different ways, one in which you sound frustrated and impatient, and the other, that you sound sad and hopeless, it's going to pick up on the tone and answer differently based on the state that you're in, that it's picking up on, which is to me absolutely incredible.
So is there a training section within 4.0?
Well, I'm sure that it learns the more you use it, but you could just apparently it seems that you could just pick it up and use it right away. You don't have to do any training of it whatsoever. But I'm sure that as time goes on, since it has memory now, it just is going to learn more and more about how to properly interpret, your different tones and moods and things of that nature.
All right. Well, we're pretty much at the bottom of the hour, and I wanted to share. I know we have a bunch of people listening. Now I just want to talk about the newsletter for a second. So if you haven't read the story on the newsletter, it's just about me throwing a party with a bunch of rappers and a bunch of NBA, not NBA, but athletes after the Bucks won the Super Bowl. So I'm in a limo, and I get out, and everybody's saying their name, and this guy looks at me, and he's kind of like just glancing at me like, who the hell are you? And you could read it in there, but I gave him a name of 2 Second City skits, like Josh and Josh and Stanley Schmengi. And so I thought that was it. And all of a sudden we're auctioned off in this sports auction. So things lead to another. There's a whole bunch of information in the newsletter, but I wanted to tell you a story that happened really quickly because it's so funny. Usually I don't do this, but 2 other things happened. One, I was on the golf course, and I'm a terrible golfer. So I went and I hit the ball, and it went probably 50 to 100 feet. Now the press cart, the media cart is behind me, right?
Oh no.
And so I threw my club, And I started screaming at the media card saying, if this was in Utopia, this would have gone 300 yards. I was golfing like Utopia because it was all ice. And anyways, I didn't know this, but my friend sends me an article from FLA magazine, how Yosh Schmangi, WWE tag team champ, goes nuts on a golf course. And it was published in Florida magazine. So
Fact check much?
yeah, fact check. So
Oh, that's funny.
the other thing was the night that we had the big golf tournament. There was a party on this boat going around Tampa Bay, and these people out of nowhere. This wasn't for our event. Our event had been over, so we go on to this boat, and these people and like a crowd comes around us and asks us if we were the wrestlers, and we played up the part. And so they were buying us beer, and we sat down, and the one guy says, is there anything different that you guys do in Utopia than we don't do over here? And I said, yes, especially when it comes to holidays, like at Christmas time, you exchange Christmas presents and we exchange socks. And he looks at me and they're all thinking this is really serious. I'm going, oh my God, this is so cool. I got to play this more often. But these are two stories that happened off of this bloody newsletter thing that I put together. So anyway, check it out. Check the newsletter out. It's a pretty funny story. But okay, now
you got a new alter ego, Norm.
What's that?
You got a new alter ego now.
Yeah, I know. It was fun. Hey, that lasted for 3 years, by the way. 3 years. And I really didn't think that these guys, no, I never mentioned my name like that. Josh and Schmidt never came up again. You know, it was always just Norm. But I thought, oh yeah, they know this. They know it. And nobody ever asked. We just kept doing it. It was 3 years later when, you know, somebody was doing a World Wrestling, like WWE documentary. And they were coming up the elevator to interview me.
Oh,
and it was like, what?
You went far. I gotta try this.
Oh my God. It's just a joke because I was kind of ticked off at the way the guy looked at me when I came out of the limo, but the guy I was with, he was around 350 pounds, the old wax mustache, bald head. I was around, I was in really good shape back then. I'd say about 285, bald head. We look like
believable, honestly.
It was believable. So, anyways, let's move on. I hope everybody had a laugh. But we're at the bottom of the hour, and it's the first time listening. We have something called the Wheel of Kelsey, and this is where we give away a prize. Now, to enter, you have to do hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, you'll get a second entry. And what do we have, Chris?
Yeah, so we're giving away this is actually an internal calculator checklist that we've been requested by all of our audience for a really long time that we never really wanted to release because it was like internal to us. But for those of you guys that don't know, I run Sophie Society, and we're a PPC partner, so we partner up with brands to do their PPC. And so we're giving away our internal daily, weekly, and monthly checklist for everything you need to do to optimize every different type of campaign. So it's basically like a protocol for just literally follow this checklist and you'll be optimizing all your campaigns in the most optimal way. And it's what we use internally to do it as PPC professionals. So yeah, it's something that we never released publicly before. We've only released it internally, privately to people that join our community. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Oh, okay. Very good. So to get a chance to win that, it's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. Tag 2 people, you'll get a second entry. And now just a quick shout out to Colin C. Campbell. and Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. This is the book that he's written. It took him 10 years to write it, and there's no AI in this. He's written it from start to finish. It's published by Forbes. And what I like about this book is it really takes an entrepreneurial journey from beginning to end. And no matter where you are or how successful, or if you're just beginning your journey, this book will go through it. It breaks up each of the 4 modules into 4 sections and then into subsections. And he hates when I say it, but it's like a business reference guide. So you can buy this on Amazon as a Kindle, soft and hardcover, and it's also available on Audible. So that's Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. If you buy it, let me know what you think. Okay, now let's get back. So we got through a few. Are there anything else that you could? Oh, by the way, what you might have to. I'm just thinking about when you were talking about the speed of this. You might have to create a prompt to tell it to slow down.
Yeah, totally. And you can now. That's actually one of another pretty cool update is that before you had absolutely no control over the way that the voice response responded to you. Now you could say, talk faster, or you could say it with more inflection. If you guys actually watched the official OpenAI release video that they came out with yesterday, you could see this live. It was a big part of their demo. They had, her tell a story, and then they said, tell it with more emphasis. And then they said, okay, tell it with maximal emotion. And you wouldn't believe, the response was pretty crazy. It was like, a expert storyteller, like reading to like a group of, bright-eyed children or something. It's like super emphatic and tons of emotion. So you could say, slow down, speed up. They asked it to like talk like a robot with no emotion. You could have it even sing the answers to you, and it'll sing everything to you. It's pretty insane, dude. It's really kind of mind blowing. I think it's really going to change the way we work.
Have you ever been to the Sphere in Vegas?
No, I don't think so. Who knows though? Everything's connected there. I probably
yeah. So Kevin and I went over there, and they had these AI models, and we were blown away. But probably this is about 3 months ago. So from 3 months ago until now, technology's probably tripled, quadrupled. Like what we thought was amazing 3 months ago to today, like it's so fast. Things are turning around so fast. Even if you think about it, ChatGPT, like January, all of a sudden, where are we? And how fast has it progressed? You think you're on top of it, and you just know how far behind you are.
Yeah, it's pretty honestly, it's like just neck snapping speed. It's pretty insane. I mean, I'm pretty excited to figure out how this integrates into my workday, but I'm also like, there's a lot of unknowns about how this will change our industry and every industry, because, for example, in the high ticket services and coaching and advisory and agency space, which is like, multi tens of billions industry, that's going to change pretty dramatically when you have somebody who has access to all the world's knowledge, who can respond to you instantly, who can see and hear everything that you're experiencing live in the moment. That makes, having a coach for a particular problem, or learning a particular skill, or, a study guide, or, study companion or something like that, seem a little bit less valuable when you have it for free right along. Because actually, that's another thing we didn't even discuss, is it could do live video feeds, right? And interpret what it's seeing live. But what we didn't talk about.
So how can you see that being useful?
Well, the most useful way is the fact that they're enabling the live video feed to be your screen. So you could just screen share live, just leave it on. And then the whole time you're working, because, this is yet another thing, is ChatGPT is coming out with a desktop app now. So it's not just a phone app, but a desktop app. So on the desktop app, you could just share your screen and leave the audio feed on, so that the whole time you're working, it can see everything you're working on, and anything you have a question about, or anything that you want clarification on, or anything you want to analyze. Say I'm doing my PPC, and I'm looking at my all my data, and I'm like, well, what does this mean? How can I interpret this? You just ask out loud, and it'll respond to you instantly. Like an expert that's sitting right next to you, which is astounding to me.
Yeah,
And I think it's gonna completely change how we all work.
So let's take a look at, one of your main pieces of business is PPC over at Sophie's. You could take all that information, or like what we do over here, we could take the information, we could take guidelines of writing or copy, we could feed it best practices, and then while we're writing or while it's interpreting, it could give us a better script or a better product. And for you, I'm thinking if this isn't in too near, well, maybe in the very near future, where you could be talking about what you want to do to a campaign, it's got everything coded what you do, to
Normally.
audit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it says, back to you, hey, Chris, maybe you should do this. Give you an optimal.
Or in the past, you've done this and it worked, and so maybe try that. So yeah, exactly, because it's got the memory. It knows what's worked for you in the past as well. So yeah.
All right. So we've talked about the tones or the voices. We've talked about memory. We've talked about analyzing. We haven't talked about price.
Yeah, that's the surprising thing about all this, is that I've yet to even understand the reason behind this decision, but they decided to make GPT 4.0 free to everyone.
So when I saw that, the first thing I thought of is, why don't I cancel my 4?
Same. That was my first thought. I was like, all right, so buy 4. I don't even think they have an answer to that yet. But I think, in all honesty, probably what's on their mind is long term, the monetization of this isn't by having people pay a subscription fee. It's everything else, like Google, right? Like, imagine if Google had a premium version where you could search for, you pay $20 a month and your searches are just better for some reason.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it because they want it to be maximally useful to as many people as possible. And then they make their money off of advertising, partnerships, all of that stuff, affiliate fees. So it's going to be a similar model. This is one of those things where there's the old saying in tech that, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. So Facebook, Google, Instagram, all these free apps, LinkedIn, the reason they're free is because they're collecting data about you, and then they're selling it to advertisers.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
So do you know, are they doing that?
So they haven't announced anything related to that type of monetization yet, but it's similar. Facebook went a full decade before actually releasing their advertising platform. They were live for, it was either a full decade or near a decade before they went public and actually released advertising to advertisers, because they were mostly focused on just growing their user base and making it maximally useful. That's the model when you're dealing with a huge, widely distributed, useful tech app like this. So I just think it's not the focus right now. And they realized, okay, so we can make a little revenue off subscriptions or whatever. But if they're expecting this to be like a $10 trillion company or more. So they're really not concerned with your $20 a month. And I think that's what's behind this new update. I mean, another thing that really shocked me from a use case perspective is, so I travel a lot. So do you, Norm. We go different countries and go to different events and conferences and stuff like this. I've been using Google Translate app. It's really been a godsend from when I was traveling more than a decade ago, and that wasn't really available. It was way different interacting with the world, especially in countries where nobody speaks English. And now, like with the Google Translate app, you could take a picture of something, it translates it like with computer vision, and it can translate people talking, but there's a delay. It doesn't get things right. The voice component of it is very unnatural. It really seems like, again, talking to Siri. They did a demo as part of this release, at this public release that they did with GPT 4.0 of translation. And I mean, it was shockingly fast, really well delivered. Like, you had a professional translator next to you. They would just say, like, you got to watch it, but it was like supernatural, very human, very quick translation. And, it was completely different than the experience that I'm used to using apps like Google Translate. So if they can make this broadly available to not just tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but billions of people, that asset itself is so much more valuable than a couple, the little subscription fees that they'd collect here and there.
Jeez. Okay, now let me see. I think we could probably move on. I think we have a few questions, and if there are any other questions that coming in, I want to try to get out of here before that emergency broadcast thing happens. So let's see, Kelsey, you got any questions?
We sure do. Let's see. The first one from Tony. Perplexity Pro, I'm finding it still outperforming Chat 4.0. Do you have any thoughts on Perplexity?
No, I'm not a user. Haven't done any beta testing. So yeah,
I use it
to hear more about this.
Yeah, I talked about it on the last couple of podcasts, and I like it. I think it's going to outperform Google. It's going to surpass Google, I believe. It's going to be the Amazon to Walmart, right? How Walmart or Amazon just snuck up on Walmart. They didn't know what hit them. I think that's going to happen with this too. It's very, very good. Plus, the interesting.
You're using the free version or the pro version, or are you like a?
I just have the regular version of it. I haven't paid it. I've paid enough subscription fees for all these LLMs, but I'm happy with just what I see with just regular Perplexity. So
interesting, something to play with.
Yeah, something definitely to play with. But the interesting part about this is right now it's getting all its information from Google. So it's building a platform to compete against Google that will eventually surpass Google, in my opinion. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, next question.
All right, next question's from AMZ Elite. How do you access 4.0? I end up on a simple 4. What do I do?
Yeah, I mean, they when they made the announcement, they were careful to say they're like they're worried about safety issues, so they're rolling it out in waves. Some people are able to access it, some people are not yet. So they're doing it iteratively.
Yeah. I don't know if you have to have a subscription first from 4, but you open it up and it'll say, "Hey, you want to try the new 4.0?"
Yeah, that's probably because you're a trusted, longtime user, Norm.
But
there you go. But yeah, I mean, this is something that they get a lot of media, sort of negative media attention about. Whenever somebody uses ChatGPT for some kind of nefarious purpose, it gets a lot of media attention. So I think because they've learned from that, they're careful they're like collecting data on everybody's use cases so that they can add in more safety functionality. If you guys remember, like when GPT 3.5 came out and GPT 4 came out, it was like they had to quickly adapt the types of responses it would give to remove any kind of nefarious use cases, and they were like really quickly updating it. And I remember using it one day, and then the next day it giving like way like safer, like more guarded responses, and being like, oh, what the heck? And then they would roll it back a little bit and like go a little bit more useful. So I think there's going to be an interplay like that.
I did this. I'm not going to get into it. I don't get into religion or politics, but for me personally, I played with it was 3.5 or 4 with a bunch of political stuff. I wanted to just see what it would say. And like back in the day, I used to read 3 newspapers just to get a different view. Same
Cool.
thing. It was just, I don't believe this is the same answer. So it's kind of interesting, but at the same time, you got to watch, what, and especially your view. If you like Claude, or if you like GPT, or if you like whatever, that might lean you over to the one LLM because it's more of your personality, not so much your political views. I think this is going to be very biased. I hope it is just, or very unbiased, but we'll see what happens with this.
Yeah, that's one of the things that one of the driving forces behind Elon Musk's XAI Grok is the concern of the over political correctness of the current GPT bots that are really worried about societal blowback from answers that are not considered politically correct. And honestly, I share that annoyance. I'm not the type of guy who's like really politically like being politically correct all the time. I think that's annoying as hell. And I do get annoyed with the responses that ChatGPT gives when you get into subjects like that. It's like really, really tiptoeing around it, very obviously like programmed to like not give anything that could possibly be like controversial. And it's annoying because it shrouds the truth, and I'm kind of excited to see where Elon Musk takes this XAI Grok. That's main purpose is to kind of be the counterbalancing force to that, and is a little bit just more direct and truth focused rather than worrying about the societal blowback from non-politically correct answers.
Well, just think of it. If, I see Tony talking about Perplexity. So if we're going to Google or Perplexity for history, or for, what happened at a certain event, or whatever it is, the information that you'll get is very generic info. And that could be for anything that you're writing, but it's just something to think. We haven't got to that point yet where we have to understand or look out for it, but we're not 2 feet into it where we have to be worried about it.
Yeah.
But if you whitewash everything, all of a sudden you got to whitewash. You're all it is a Huck. What I call it a Huck Finn movement, right? You whitewash the fence, get everybody else to whitewash the fence, and you look good.
Yeah, exactly. And I've never been a fan of that. I like when a response is like offensive. I'm like, oh, I can't believe it said that. Like, it tickles me. Like I'm not into the, people that get easily offended by things. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing where that goes.
All right, Kels, next.
All right. This one is from Simon, I think. Can we use GPT 4.0 to analyze PPC search term query reports?
Yeah, you can upload CSVs. You can have it analyze the file. It's pretty wild. Not just that, but like, especially with the screen share ride along, you just leave it on. It's ride along. It's, seeing the screen that you have the entire time live with a 300 millisecond response time if you have to ask any questions about it. So you can just click through anything and get an interpretation. So now, rather than like, uploading the text of your listing and saying, how can I write this better or whatever, you can have a conversation about it live while you're scrolling through it, right? And be like, what do you think about these images? How could I make these better? Or like, how could I rewrite these bullet points, make them like more useful?
And what is ride along?
Well, I'm just using that term to describe the fact that it's just riding along with you while you work.
Oh, okay.
This is how Sam Altman is using it. When he was asked directly after the release of GPT 4.0 how he found himself using it in the most useful way, he said, well, now what shocked me is I just find myself leaving it on all day. It's just on next to me, and then whenever I come across something that I need to ask about, I just ask it out loud. And it's got, both the video and the audio feed, just all the information is already there for it to have the context to give me the answer. And it just gives it to me. So he just leaves it on all day long. And I think that I've never done that, with ChatGPT 4. It was kind of annoying because when you talk to it, it would just never shut up. Like, I don't know if you ever had this experience, Norm, but like you're talking back and forth with ChatGPT and it will never just stop. It just always prompts like the next part of the conversation. You're just like, shut up, dude. And even if you say shut up, it's just, it gives you a response to that. It's like, okay, it sounds like you've got enough information about that. Would you like me to blah, 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 and you're just like, oh my God, just shut the fuck up. So it sounds like they fixed that. And now, it just kind of, is more like a person, that's just alongside you.
Okay. Next.
All right, we just have a couple more. Is it priced as simple and flexible? Is it only pay for what you use, or is it free? What is
Free.
the pricing model?
Yeah, it's free. And they also actually they made an announcement that it's all of these new use cases, new features are available in the API as well. So that you'll pay for if you're using it on the back end to make your own application.
Okay.
And the pricing is based on the amount of uses the amount of usage that you have on it.
All right. Last question.
All right, last one is more of a comment from Bartnet. Since this week, Cloud AI is also available in Europe. We see a lot of movement. No one wants to be forgotten.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny because I was just thinking, like, in the last day, distilling these updates and these new features and availabilities, how bad my iPhone is at just answering with Siri. Like, it just made me realize how actually terrible Siri is, which is funny because when Siri was released, everyone was like amazed by it,
Right.
how long ago that was, a long time ago. But it feels just so bad now. And even the text, the voice to text on my iPhone keyboard is so bad. It gets it wrong so much of the time. I have to edit the text. When I use the speech to text in ChatGPT, it hears the whole thing that you're saying before interpreting it and turning it into text, rather than doing it word by word. And the reason it does that is because it's interpreting the meaning of the entire sentence. So it gets it right almost every time. And I'm just like, wow, this is so different. Like, these other huge players are falling behind, like Apple, Google, and that's the reason why Microsoft, bought a huge chunk of it, because they know, they're falling behind now. So you're right. No one wants to be left behind. And I read a headline, which I didn't even read into yet. It's just this stuff is coming out so fast that Apple is in talks with ChatGPT. So it seems like it could be part of the replacement of whatever the next Siri is, which I would love. It would make so much sense because it would make this thing a lot more useful if Siri, was no longer used. I hate Siri.
Yeah. It's useless once you get used to chat.
Totally.
Okay. So I think that's it. Chris, what's your contact information?
Oh, yeah. hello@sophiesociety.com is a good way to reach me. Or you could DM me on Instagram. Hippie Mogul is my handle there. Or LinkedIn. I'm Chris Rawlings on LinkedIn. Just search Chris Rawlings and you'll find me. And if you want to find out about me and Sophie Society, you can just go to my website, sophiesociety.com, and check me out there.
All right. Now, instead of WWE, we could probably be UFC. Do they don't have tag team? Let's make a UFC tag team championship. Chris Rawlings, Norm Farrar.
Let's do it, dude. I don't know how believable that will be for me, but for you, though, for sure. I'll lean into it anyway.
All right. Okay. Good. All right, everybody. We are going to have a sponsor, and then we're going to go right over to the wheel. Facing cash flow challenges with your e-commerce business? Discover Viably, your ultimate financial ally. From real-time sales data integrations to immediate funding access, Viably is here to support you. Plan your growth with their free tool for online sellers and engage with specialists whenever you need. Extend your cash flow with Viably. All right, we are back. Time for the wheel.
It's time
lots of people today.
All right. So let me shuffle these up. And if you are the winner, please email me, kate@lunchwithnorm.com, and we'll connect you with your prize.
Tony.
This is Tony S. All right. Congratulations. You are the winner. Please email me, kate@lunchwithnorm, to receive your prize.
And if you don't know, Chris has an awesome agency, PPC agency called Sophie Society. So if you want to check that out, if you're looking for PPC or help with your PPC, just go and check them out. So, Chris, man, last minute, I really appreciate this.
Hell yeah, this was fun, dude. I love doing this, and I always love chatting with you and Kelsey. So I love it, man. Let's
Well,
do it.
hopefully we can meet up soon at an event.
Yeah, I hope so. Smoke a couple stogies, huh?
That would be good.
Yes.
All right, buddy. We will see you later.
Okay, brother. See you next time.
Next time. All right. So I hope everybody enjoyed today's show. It was a little bit about ChatGPT, a little bit about AI. We kind of went down a bunch of different rabbit holes, but the main topic was the new update. And I think everybody learned a little bit about that today. So Kels, where are you?
I'm right here. Hopefully.
So I'm going to see you in less than 48 hours.
Yeah, I guess so. We're heading off to Hawaii. So that's going to be pretty fun. We've got a bunch of pre-recorded episodes for everyone that are set up. So we will be going live, but it's a pre-recorded episode, of course.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. I do want to warn people, the giveaways might have to be announced at a different time or later on.
But we're still having them. Everybody had a giveaway.
Yeah. So we will get you the giveaways to the winners. We'll announce the winners for those episodes. It just might be a little funky about the time. So don't believe what we're saying on the actual video. We might have to play around with the giveaway.
And Kevin's on Friday, right?
Kevin's on Friday, and then we've got a great group of people. A lot of new speakers, I would say.
Yeah.
New guests. So it should be good.
All right. Okay. So that's it. So you can join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live at Eastern Standard Time, except for next week. We're going to be away, but we have those pre-records. If you'd like to be part of our community, you can always listen to the podcast. You can watch us live. You can sign up for the newsletter or join our WhatsApp group or the Facebook group. All of them are very engaging, and we'd love to have you. So that's it for today. We won't see you until the following Monday, I think. But have a good one, guys.
Lunch with